More than a week ago, when temperatures first started dipping to around freezing, I applied the first layer of cover over our winter crops here inside the hoop house and in our hinged low tunnels. And then a few days ago, before it dropped to 19 degrees Fahrenheit, I applied the second layer of cover, but I applied it very loosely and I didn't secure it properly. Now it's time to properly secure that second layer. I've already started with the hoop house. Now let's move on to the hinged low tunnels. It's very important to properly secure the plastic to the frame because when it's loose like this, the frame itself is also rather loose and wobbly. And if we had a heavy snowfall, this whole thing would collapse. But the plastic is very, very strong, and when it's pulled tightly around the frame and secured to the wood frame on the bottom, the whole structure becomes much more rigid and strong. So the plastic cover contributes significantly to the structural integrity of the whole setup. So let's get started by securing it here on the south side, where I'll secure the plastic with this 1x2 furring strip. I've already got the plastic centered properly. And what I'll do is I'll start in the center and work my way towards the outer edge. And as I move to each outer edge, I'll pull the plastic as tightly as I can. Okay, now that I'm finished pinching the plastic between the 1x2 furring strip and the 2x4 frame of the hinged low tunnel on the south side, I'll do the same thing on the north side. The only difference will be, in addition to pulling the plastic tightly this way, I'll also pull it tightly over top of the hinged low tunnel. Okay, I already have my 1x2 furring strip in place to attach to the 2x4 frame. So all I have to do is center it on the frame and then pull the plastic straight down. Easier said than done. Easier done with two people than one. Alright, and then use my body to hold that against the frame. Alright, and now working my way toward the outer edge, I pull the plastic down and to the edge. Down and to the edge. Now the other way. Okay, I now have the plastic attached on the front and the back of the low tunnel. Now let's work on the sides. I'll approach the sides a little bit differently. I'll attach the furring strip to the outer edges first and then work my way toward the center, pulling the plastic in tightly as I go. Okay, I'll start here on the front of the side. Get the furring strip over the top of the plastic. Line it up with the edge. Use my body to hold that strip up. Now pull it nice and tight around the PVC frame. See how tight that is? And then secure it. Now I'll do the same on the other edge. I want to make sure I have the plastic tucked underneath the strip. Pull the plastic tight over on this side. Pull down and towards the center. And secure it. Okay. Now we'll start pulling towards the center. Pull the plastic nice and tightly. And okay, now I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll attach the furring strips on the outer edges first and then work my way toward the center, all the while pulling the plastic down into the center. Well, I now have the first of our two double-layered hinge low tunnels covered with 2 layers of cover. And as I mentioned earlier, once this 6mm greenhouse film is on here, it's really strong stuff, and if it's pulled tightly and secured to the frame, this structure now is very sturdy, very strong, and will have no trouble whatsoever with our Chicago winters. If you think about it this way, any force that's exerted down this way will try to push the hoops outward, and the 6mm film is pulling the hoops in, so it's not going to let that happen. So this is a very sturdy structure at this point. I'll be back tomorrow to do the other low tunnel. Well, I'm back to finish up my project, but before getting started I need to vent this low tunnel. With 2 layers of cover it can get really warm in here, so on sunny days like today I need to make sure to vent. I wait as long as I do before applying cover to our cool weather crops in the fall for a few simple reasons. First, I wait until we have freezing temperatures before applying the first cover because I want the cold to kill back pests like cabbage worms and slugs. Second, we get quite a bit of rain at this time of the year, and I'd rather have the rain water our garden than have to manually water it myself. And third, by waiting as long as possible before applying cover, I have to do a lot less manual venting. Okay, let's apply the second layer of cover to our second hinged low tunnel. I applied the first layer by pinching the plastic between a 1x2 furring strip and the top of the hinged low tunnel frame. And today, excuse me, bud. Okay, and today I'll apply the second layer by attaching a 1x2 furring strip to the outside of the 2x4. And I'll use the same procedure I did on the first hinge low tunnel. Let's get started. Because the procedure is the same, I'll move very quickly through this demonstration. As before, I secured the plastic to the front and back of the hinge frame before securing it to the ends. I pinched the plastic between a 1x2 furring strip and the 2x4 hinge low tunnel frame by starting in the center and working my way to the ends of the frame. I pulled the plastic toward the closest end while driving in the screws. After finishing the back of the low tunnel, I then repeated the same procedure on the front, except I pulled the plastic to the edge and I pulled it down, so the plastic would be pulled tightly end to end and over the top. After finishing the front and back, I fastened the plastic to the ends by starting on the outer edges and working my way toward the center, pulling the plastic down and to the center as I drove in the screws. Well, that's a tight squeeze back there. I now have both of my hinge low tunnels completely covered, and as before, once that plastic is on there tight, these things are really strong and won't have any trouble with the snow load. Now let's take a look at 3 more low tunnels I have set up, and I'll let you know what I'm doing with those. I haven't gone to the trouble of covering these 3 beds with hinged low tunnels because they don't get enough sun to make it worth my while. These 2 beds in particular get no sun at all during the winter. But even so, covering them with a single layer of cover temporarily allows me to continue harvesting turnips, kale, lettuce, beets, and kohlrabi at least through November. And we'll make sure to harvest all of these crops before they're lost to the cold. I hope you enjoyed joining me today as I prepped our garden for winter by adding the second layer of cover to our hinged low tunnels. I was so intent on finishing this project while filming this video that I didn't show you much of what we're growing, but I hope to remedy that soon. I plan on releasing a November harvest video very soon, as well as harvest videos throughout the winter to give you a better idea of what we grow under these structures in the fall and winter. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more videos on how to grow a lot of food on a little land without spending much or working harder than you have to.
Hey, Supervisor. How's it look?